Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my Pac-12 football predictions for the 2023 college football season. Before I continue, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. Really try and grow the channel. Um, Pac-12 this year, I think it's going to be really competitive. I think it's wide open. I think a bunch of teams can win it this year in the Pac-12 in the final season of the Pac-12. If you haven't heard already, the Pac-12 is basically going to be the Pac-0 next year. I know there are reports that some teams like Memphis, SMU, a few other Group of Five teams might join the Pac-12 on a last-ditch effort. The Pac-12 can't compete as a Power Five conference with those teams. No offense to those teams, but they just can't. Um, you look at the Pac-12. Um, it's going to be the last year. I mean, you have four teams going to the Big Ten, four teams going to the Big 12. So, and I think it's going to be a great last year for the Pac-12. I think this is a year where you could probably get a team out of the college football into the college football playoffs if you're the Pac-12. So let's get into it. We'll stop wasting time bloviating over the Pac-12. In first place in the Pac-12 for the regular season, I got Oregon going 11-1, 8-1 in the conference. I am really high on Oregon this year. Oregon is a team to bring back 16 starters, 8 on each side. Last year, the weakness for this team was the defense. I gotta think Dan Lanning is gonna have that fix. You look at their schedule, 8-1 in the Pac-12. I do have them losing on the road in a tight game against Utah. But I think they get big wins on the road against Washington. I think they get a big win in week 2 on the road against a Texas Tech team that a lot of people have in their top 25. AP doesn't and McD Sports 4 doesn't, but a lot of people do. They get a big win at home against Southern Cal, big win in the Civil War against Oregon State, and I'm glad that that game looks like it's going to continue even after um, Oregon leaves for the Big Ten. Um, but Oregon, Bo Nix, I think is the most underrated player in college football. I think he's going to be the X factor for Oregon this year. I think he is going to succeed there at Oregon. Um, this is a really good team coming back. They are blatantly a Pac-12 contender, and I think they're a college football playoff contender as well. And they will be in the conversation at minimum at the end. Oregon 11-1, 8-1 in the Pac-12. Second place in the Pac-12, I got Southern Cal. Um, a lot of people are high on Southern Cal, even picking Southern Cal to make the playoffs. I refuse to take Southern Cal seriously until they get a real defensive coordinator. Alex Grinch is not a real defensive coordinator. He's just there. I mean, I don't even know if he's a Power 5 defensive coordinator. Now, granted, they do bring back 17 stars, 8 on the offense, 9 on the defense. So maybe they figure it out this year defensively, Southern Cal. I doubt it. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I doubt it. Um, I do look at Southern Cal. Caleb Williams is gonna be the favorite to win the Heisman. I think he will win the Heisman. Um, you look at Southern Cal, 10-2, 8-1 in conference. They will lose the out conference game against Notre Dame. They will lose in the conference against Oregon. So that's how I have the schedule laid out. They will win games at home against Washington, Utah, and UCLA. Um, it really comes down to, can USC get the defense together? I don't think they will, but I actually think the schedule is easy enough or at least manageable enough where they could get to 10 wins in the regular season and have a crack at the Pac-12 championship game and even punch a shot at the playoffs. But overall, it really comes down to the defense for me with Southern Cal. So 10-2, 8-1 in the Pac-12. Third place in the Pac-12 is going to be Utah. Utah is a team that I feel like they're going to be there at the end competing for the Pac-12. I don't think they're a college football playoff contender, and the reason why I think that is a few things. One, talent-wise, Oregon and Southern Cal, in my opinion, are better talent-wise than Utah. I know they bring back 16 stars, 9 on the defense, 7 offensively. The quarterback, Cam Rising, how many games is he gonna miss? If he misses that week 2 game against Baylor, a game which I have Utah projected to lose, I think Utah could be in for a bit of a rough stretch. I mean, they get Florida week 1 at home. I think they'll win that game, Thursday night game there. They lose the out conference game against Baylor. Weber State's the other one. They'll win that, the FCS opponent. The two games I have Utah losing in the Pac-12, respectfully, is Southern Cal and Washington. I think Southern Cal gets revenge after last year's games against Utah and Washington on the road. They're going to be that offense is going to be a really good offense. I'm not as high on Washington as a lot of other people, but I can't deny that the offense is going to be booming. I think Utah maybe probably loses there, and probably a pick'em type game. But 9-3, they'll still get a crack at 10 wins. I know this might be a bit disrespectful. Them not even making Utah not even making the Pac-12 championship game, despite being back-to-back Pac-12 champs. But they're going to be in the race at the end of the day. They will be. But at the end of the day, I just can't get there. I'm really high on Oregon. I think the schedule works out a bit better for Southern Cal there. So Utah 9-3, 7-2 in the Pac-12. Fourth place in the Pac-12 is Washington 9-3, 6-3 in the Pac-12. Washington offensively is going to be great. Defensively, they should be better. I do think, though, that at the end of the day, I actually don't think the schedule works out in their favor. And B, I'm just not completely sold on them. I'm really not. I get it. Michael Penix is a very good quarterback. I get that Jalen McMillan's pretty good. And I get last year they won 11 games. I'm just not sold on them. I think they'll have a crack at 10 wins if you count the bowl game. They'll sweep through the non-conference games against Boise State and at Michigan State. They'll win those games pretty convincingly, in my opinion. In the Pac-12 though, the games I have them dropping, it's at Arizona, Oregon, and at Southern Cal. Those are the three I have them dropping. You might sit there and be like, "Oh, I have them losing to Arizona." That's a bit weird. Is Washington going to be favored in that game? Yes. Those Northwest teams tend to have issues traveling to Arizona, and that's why I went with the upset there. I also think people are sleeping on Arizona a little bit. I mean, not so much sleeping on them because I do see people having Arizona possibly competing for the Pac-12. I saw a few of those, but Arizona's going to be a decent team this year, so it's not going to be like a terrible loss or anything. But at the end of the day, I just can't buy it. I don't know. I mean, I just think this team's going to come up a little bit short. Washington, as I said, the schedule doesn't really work out in their favor when it comes to the Pac-12 play. So I'm going 9-3, 6-3 in the Pac-12, fourth place in the Pac-12. And by the way, I should have mentioned at the top of the video, there's no divisions in the Pac-12, which is a good thing because I don't think these conferences should do divisions. Fifth place in the Pac-12 is going to be UCLA. UCLA 8-4, 5-4 in the Pac-12. Yes, they do lose the quarterback. Yes, they do lose the running back. Chip Kelly's going to have this team ready to go. I think this team's going to be pretty reliant on their defense this year. They bring back 9 stars on the defense, and they still bring back 7 stars on the offense despite losing the quarterback and running back. You look at UCLA. I have them going 3-0 in the non-conference, including 2. I'm not gonna say difficult games, but 2 games that are kind of sneaky. Coastal Carolina at home and at San Diego State. Coastal Carolina, Grayson McCall. I think it's his final season. One of the better quarterbacks in college football. That game's gonna be competitive, and that San Diego State is gonna be competitive as well. The 5-4, the 4 games I have UCLA losing is Utah. I have them going ahead losing to Oregon, Southern Cal, and Arizona. They kind of get kind of an easy schedule in the Pac-12. Could work to their advantage if some of these teams um, don't do as good as I think. And by the way, I think I said Oregon instead of Oregon State. I meant Oregon State. They lose to Utah, Oregon State, Arizona, Southern Cal. Those are the 4 teams they lose to in the Pac-12. So, but this team I think is going to have to rely heavily on their defense. I think it will work out at the end. It really just comes down to how good this defense is for UCLA. Chip Kelly, they'll be fine offensively as long as he's at the helm. So 8-4, 5-4 in the Pac-12. Sixth place in the Pac-12, I got Arizona, and this might come as a bit of a surprise. There's a few teams in the Pac-12 that I think are going to be a bit sneaky good, and Arizona is one of them. They bring back 8 stars offensively, 3 defensively. Jaden Delora, he's pretty good, guys. He's pretty good. You look at Arizona Jetfish, really doing some great things there. 4-5 in the Pac-12, 2-1 in the non-conference. I do think they lose the road game against Mississippi State in the non-conference. The 4 games they will win in the conference is Stanford, Washington. So they start out Pac-12 play 2-0, guys. They'll go ahead. They'll beat Oregon State and UCLA. They will lose a tough game on the road against Colorado game that they will probably be favored in Arizona. Arizona State as well at the end of the season. Another game that Arizona will probably be favored in, but lose that one. You look at Arizona. I just think Grant. Originally, I wasn't going to predict Arizona to make a bowl game, but the more I looked at the schedule, I crunched the numbers. I lean a lot more towards 6-6 than 5-7, and I'm high on the quarterback. So that's where I landed with Arizona. Um, and this is a team that I think in 2024, when they join the Big 12, I think this is a team that can compete to win the Big 12 right away as well. So 6-6, 4-5 in the Big 12. In the Pac-12. In seventh place in the Pac-12, I got Cal. Cal is a team that a lot of people are sleeping on, in my opinion. And when I mean a lot, everybody's sleeping on Cal. You look at Cal, they bring back a bunch of starters. Cal does. They bring back 17 stars, 8 on offense, 9 on defense. Justin Wilcox, this defense is gonna be good for Cal. Bring back 9 starters. You look at the non-conference, I have them going 2-1 in the non-conference. Their wins will be on the road against North Texas and Idaho. That North Texas game is going to be tricky, though. That North Texas, the only reason I went with Cal really is because they have a new head coach. North Texas does, and I went with the more stable situation with Cal. But I will only make Cal like a 6 or 8 point favorite in that game. So that tells you how much I think of North Texas. And then Auburn, I always pulled the trigger on picking Cal in the upset here. I just couldn't. And listen, I'm not high on Auburn at all, so it would not surprise me if Cal goes ahead and beats Auburn. 4-5 in the Pac-12. I think the games that Cal will win will be Arizona State, Oregon State, Washington State, and Stanford. Those will be the 4 that Cal wins. Um, I think Wilcox. I do think this is going to be his last year at Cal. I think that he will be looking for a new job. He will resign, either look for a high coordinator job, or he will go ahead and look for another head coaching job. Because of the situation at Cal. Now, Grant, I think and I'm kind of getting a bit off track here. I do think Cal will be in the Big Ten eventually, but I think Justin Wilcox, this is his last year. I think he's gotten everything he could out of this program. Um, but and I think you'll see that this year. So 6-6, 4-5 in the Pac-12 for Cal. Eighth place in the Pac-12 is going to be Oregon State, going 7-5, 4-5 in the Pac-12. Now, a lot of people are high on this team, and I get it. Oregon State is actually in my preseason top 25 as number 18. Um, they bring back 8 stars offensively, 5 defensively. They bring back they bring in the quarterback transfer DJ Ugulei from Clemson. They won 10 games last year. I I think this team's getting overhyped. I think I'm not saying last year was a fluke. I think last year not a lot of people were. I think a lot of people were kind of sleeping on Oregon State, and I think this year teams are going to be more alert. 4-5 in the Pac-12. They'll go 3-0 in the non-conference. Road game against San Jose State, San Diego State at home, and UC Davis. They'll beat those 3 teams. They'll go ahead. I do think that they will beat UCLA. They'll go ahead. They'll beat Stanford. They'll beat Colorado, and they'll go ahead and beat Washington State. But at the same time, um, I do think that I don't think they can really compete against the big boys consistently in the Pac-12, and that's why I couldn't get to like more than 7, 8 wins for Oregon State. Like for instance, the Oregon game. Yeah, I know they beat them last year. Oregon's gonna beat Oregon State this year. Washington is gonna beat Oregon State this year. I know um, that's a game that's probably circled for the Beavers, but Washington offensively is just way too explosive. You look at you go ahead, you look at the Arizona game. I think that's a pick'em game. I'm going to give it to Arizona at home. So you look at the schedule and everything. Um, I just feel like Oregon State, they're just going to come up a little bit short. 7-5, 4-5. Still have a crack at 8 wins, which is pretty good, but that's where I have Oregon State at. And ninth place in the Pac-12, I got Arizona State going 5-7, 3-6 in the Pac-12. I feel like I look at Arizona State. I'm gonna be honest with you. The coaching staff's pretty good. I know they bring back 8 stars offensively. Drew Pine, he can play. He's from transferred from Notre Dame. He can play. They only bring back 5 stars defensively. I look at this team and I say even think they can get into a bowl game this year. It would not surprise me. I think the Kenny Dillingham hire was outstanding. I think they will come up a bit short though, however, in making a bowl game. I just couldn't get there. 5-7, 3-6. They'll lose to Oklahoma State in the non-conference. They'll win a close game against Fresno State in the non-conference as well. They'll beat Southern Utah. 3 games in the Pac-12 I have Arizona State winning is Colorado, Arizona, and Washington State. Those are the 3 I have Arizona State winning there. I look at this team though. I think the rebuild is going to be a bit quicker than a lot of people think. So um, just keep that in mind. This is a team when they join the Big 12, they will be competitive right away. So 5-7, 3-6 in the Big 12. I think this team is a dark horse to make a bowl game. 10th place in the Pac-12 is going to be Washington State, going 6-6, 3-6 in the Pac-12. Washington State is a team that I also think some people are sleeping on. This is a team that brings back 12 starters, 7 offensively, 5 defensively. They bring back the quarterback Cameron Ward, which I think is huge. Um, They'll go 3-0 in the non-conference, including a big upset win at home against Wisconsin. They'll go ahead and beat Colorado State on the road. They'll beat Northern Colorado as well. 3 games I have Washington State winning in the Pac-12 is Arizona, Stanford, Colorado. Those 3 right there. I almost pulled the trigger in the Oregon State game. Just couldn't get there. I think Jake Dicker has done an excellent job since taking over at Washington State. You look at Washington State. Obviously, they're not going to compete with the big boys this year, but they do get. They don't really get any of the big boys in their building as well. I mean, their biggest game is going to be Wisconsin at home. I mean, they get. I mean, they don't face Southern Cal. They don't face. They face Oregon on the road. They face Washington on the road. They don't get Utah this year. So I mean, it's going to you don't really get any of the big boys in your own house. The schedule doesn't really work out nice for Washington State, in my opinion. But they bring back 12 stars, including the quarterback and Cameron Ward. I like the job Jake Dickers there. I think they get to a bowl game. Wazoo does 6-6, 3-6 in the Pac-12. 11th place in the Pac-12 is going to be Colorado, going 4-8, 2-7 in the Pac-12. Now, this is a very I'm going to say this about this situation with Deion Sanders coming in. It's either going to be boom or bust this year in year 1. There is going to be no in between. There's like Colorado's not going to go 7-5, 6-6. Maybe I'll stay with maybe 8-4. It's either going to be Colorado wins 9 to 10 games at least, or they'll win 3 or 4 games. I'm staying in the 3 or 4 games camp primarily because this team went 1-11 last year. I mean, I know they brought in a bunch of transfers, Colorado, And a lot of people that have visited camp are speaking high. I think a lot of that has to do with Deion Sanders, which I think it was an excellent hire for Colorado because they needed something. And you can tell them moving to the Big 12, which I think is really the right move for them. Um, is Colorado is going to be a force to be reckoned with once they join the Big 12, in my opinion. 4-8, 2-7 in the Pac-12. I think they will get a big win at home against Nebraska in week 2. I just have a sneaky feeling about that game. Um, it's going to be an upset. It's going to be a wild environment, Boulder. I think Colorado gets the win there. They'll beat Colorado State in the Rocky Mountain Showdown as well, in my opinion. Even though Colorado State's going to be a bit improved this year. 2 games in the Pac-12 that Colorado will win is Stanford and Arizona. I think they get a big upset win kind of late in the season at home against Arizona. But I think that I look at Colorado. They bring back 9 starters, 6 on offense, 3 on defense. Deion Sanders' son at quarterback is pretty good. He will, um, he will do good things at Colorado. I think they have him there for 2 years as the starter, which is pretty good. Um, but you look at Colorado, it's gonna be boom or bust. Okay, I mean, I think it's gonna be kind of bust year one. I think it's gonna be boom 2024 on the one though. I think Colorado's gonna be really good. I really do. But this last year in the Pac-12, and they're gonna be competitive in some of these games in the Pac-12. Like Arizona State's going to be competitive. I think UCLA has a chance to be competitive. Oregon State, I think, is going to be competitive. Wazoo's going to be competitive. So those 4 games right there in the Pac-12 that I did not pick Colorado to win those games, that they're going to be competitive in those games, in my opinion. So, but I think this is going to be a wild season. I cannot wait to watch that TCU game week 1. That's going to be a game that is going to be, I mean, I don't know what you're gonna get in that game. So, and we'll pick that game obviously. But Colorado 4-8, 2-7 in the Pac-12, and then last place in the Pac-12, Stanford. Only bringing back 6 starters total, 3 on each side. I had to go 1-11. They'll get the win against Troy Taylor's former stomping grounds, Sacramento State. They're at home, but I mean, at Hawaii, I think Hawaii gets them. The other non-conference game is what Notre Dame. Notre Dame's gonna get them. This is gonna be rough for Stanford. Now, I will say this about Stanford. Um, they will end up in the Big Ten. I'm pretty sure about that. So long term, I'm not concerned about Stanford. Short term, I am though. Primarily because um, who are they gonna play? Like the way they recruit and the standards there, like you have to get accepted into Stanford before you can before the football coach can recruit the football player or the athlete in any sport. How is that going to work if you're an independent and you don't know who you're going to play? Because I think that's where Stanford's going to be ending up. I think they're going to end up as an independent for a few years, and then they're going to join the Big Ten when Notre Dame does. But you look at Stanford, it's just going to be a rough year. I don't think they're going to be really competitive in much of their games. Maybe the Colorado game they're somewhat competitive in. Um, but overall, I just don't see Stanford really doing much this year. So 1-11, 0-9 in the Pac-12 there, in the last season of the Pac-12. So Pac-12 championship game, Oregon versus USC. I expect this to be a top 10 matchup, and I'm picking Oregon to win the Pac-12. I think I am really high on Oregon this year. 12-1. We'll see if that's enough to get them in the playoffs, but I am really high on Oregon this year. I think Oregon is the type of team that is a dark horse to like make the national championship, or even like punch a shot winning the national championship. That's how high I am on the Ducks. But comment down below. Tell me what you think about the Pac-12. I think it's gonna be a great year for the Pac-12. I'm pumped up because I'm gonna be watching a lot of Pac-12 football this year. So Comment down below. Tell me what you think. I always like hearing from y'all. Thanks for watching. We still have the ACC football predictions. And then my final video with the playoffs, New Year's Six Bowl projections, and all of that. And then I still need to get a Notre Dame football prediction video out. So 3 more videos to go. Thanks for watching. McD the Beast signing off.